In the last video, we discussed what an IDE is and how to install an IDE software. If you haven't watched that video yet, I recommend you go and watch it first, then come back to this one. That way, this video will make even more sense and be easier to follow. Alright, we need to check whether the software we installed is working properly. For that, I'm going to create a folder. The folder will be named HTML Tutorial. Next, we'll open VS Code and open the folder we just created. To do that, click on the File tab at the top left corner of the screen. Pay close attention here. You'll see two options, Open File and Open Folder. Click on Open Folder and select the folder named HTML Tutorial to open it. So, next, we need to create an HTML file. Here you'll see a plus icon for New File, and right next to it, there's another option for New Folder. Click on the New File icon and type index.html as the file name. It's not mandatory to name it index.html. You can even use your own name if you'd like. You can type anything you want, but don't forget to add sh.html at the end. What is this .html? Let me explain. When you open a video file, it usually has an extension like .mp4, or if it's an audio file, it might have .mp3. Similarly, every file type has its own specific extension. In the same way, each programming language also has its own file extensions. For example, in HTML, it's .html. In JavaScript, it's .js. In Python, it's .py. There are many such extensions depending on the language or file type. An HTML file created like this can only be opened in a browser. For example, let's open the index.html file we just created. By default, it will open in a browser. If it doesn't, you can manually open a browser, copy the file's path, and paste it into the browser's address bar to view it. If we don't write anything in the file, it will appear empty. Now, I'm going to open Visual Studio Code, type hello, and save the file. After saving the file, open your browser and refresh it. You will now see the hello text displayed on the browser. Whatever I type here will be visible in the browser after saving the file. Let's try typing something again. This time, no changes appear in the browser. Why? Because I didn't save the file. When you type something but don't save the file, you'll notice a small white dot in the top corner of the File tab. This indicates that the file hasn't been saved yet. To save it, you can press Ctrl+S or click the File tab and select Save. Once the file is saved, go back to the browser, refresh it, and now you'll see the updated content from Visual Studio Code displayed in the browser. It's not practical to save the file manually every single time. That's why Visual Studio Code has another option called Autosave. When you first open Visual Studio Code, Autosave will usually be disabled. So to enable it, click on the File tab in Visual Studio Code. Select the Autosave option and enable it. Once enabled, every change you make will be saved automatically. You won't need to press Ctrl+S each time. Alright, we've now seen how to create an HTML file and how to view its output in the browser. Alright, let's get into the topic now. We've already explained about HTML in a previous video. For those who haven't seen it, here's a quick explanation. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it defines the basic structure of a website. In simple terms, HTML is the blueprint of a website. Okay, now let's begin. We're about to dive into a very important concept. In HTML, everything is based on tags. We call this is the opening tag, and this is the closing tag. For example, if I write an H1 tag inside a pair of brackets, once I close the bracket, Visual Studio Code automatically adds the closing tag for me. The content inside these two tags is called the content of the tag. Now I'll add Hello World inside the tags. In this case, Hello World is the content. Okay? Let's understand what HTML boilerplate code is. Imagine you're writing a letter. There's a specific format for it. You start with the from address, then the to address, followed by respected sir, then the body of the letter. After that, thank you, and finally, your signature. You follow this format to write a letter. Similarly, HTML has its own format. This format is called HTML boilerplate code. Let's see what it includes. The first line, called doctype, tells the browser that this is an HTML5 file. There are 5 versions of HTML: HTML1, HTML2, HTML3, HTML4, and HTML5. Right now we're using HTML5. This line indicates which version we are using. Next, I'm going to open an HTML tag. Everything we are going to do is HTML code, and it must be correct, so whatever we do should be inside the HTML tags. These HTML tags have two main sections, the head tag and the body tag. There are two parts, okay? As I mentioned earlier, just like a letter has a specific format, HTML also has its own format. The head tags contain important things like links, the title, and other essential information. Everything else is written inside the body tag. Okay? First, let's create a title inside the head tag. I'll use the title tag to create it. What the title tag does is... Now look here. What is the title showing? It shows index.html, which is the file name. But if we want to give it a different name, like a title for our web page, we can do that through the title tag. Also, everything that needs to appear in the blank space of the browser will be contained inside the body tags. In HTML, there are many types of tags and contents we can include. Each tag and concept can be explored in a separate video. In this video, we created an HTML file and also looked at its structure, including the boilerplate code. In the next video, we will focus on the tags that we need most and explore each one in detail. If you found this video useful, please like it. To learn more about web development, subscribe to the SL Developer channel. See you in the next one.